What's going on, people? We are back for another episode of Brothers from the 818. My name is Dave. As you know, I'm here with my man, 50 Grand. Caleb, what's going on with you, Caleb?
It's good, man. Yeah, man, it's Saturday. Usually I don't get to see you on Saturdays. I'm happy to be doing this podcast today.
Absolutely, absolutely. You guys know we normally get together on Tuesday night and do a recording to drop it on Wednesday for you. But today is our special Father's Day episode. Yo, man, I don't know if you realize this, but in the 37 years we've been friends, 27 years you've been a parent, 24 years I've been a parent. I don't know if we've ever shared a Father's Day together. Can you recall a time?
No, no, I can't recall a time, probably because we were busy hanging out with family. But yeah, man, it's good to be with you today.
Absolutely, man. It was good to see you. It was good to see the wife and the kids and Grammy. That's all good, man. It was nice to have you guys come through, and my boys see you guys coming as National Treasure Day. They really love hanging out with you guys and seeing the kids and all of that. So that's what's up.
Yeah, man, we enjoy spending time with them as well. We love those kids, man.
Yeah, it was a good group. We had a good time. So special Father's Day episode, man. I'm glad we got a chance to do this. We're going to have some special guests tonight, guests plural. So we're going to see how this works out tech-wise. Still a little bitter about last week, man. I don't like that we really didn't have a video presentation for everyone. 70 minutes is a long time to listen to two brothers just yammering on. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, unless you're used to listening to podcasts in the car while you're driving, hopefully people still are listening in and checking us out. I know as much as they would love to see our beautiful faces, it's still what we're talking about. The substance is really why I hope they continue to chime in.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think there's a little bit of pride for me to be able to say we're out on YouTube and 9 different listening stations, except for last week. It was just 9 different listening stations. There was no YouTube. So yo, man, I want to get into it. We're going to do a little check-in. We're going to bounce around a little bit. But before we get started, I just want to tell you first, Happy Father's Day, man.
Yeah, man. Happy Father's Day to you. I became a father when I was 21, and anyone that know me knows that I have a 27-year-old, I have a 3-year-old, and a 1-year-old, right? And so there's a lot of learning and a lot of different parenting in that time span, right? And a lot of what I did at 21 was by trial and error, and after my oldest was on her feet and walking around, then you and we learned to parent together, and I'm grateful for her mother. She did an exceptional job, and I'm grateful to my wife today, who continues to help me sharpen my iron, right? And be the best father that I could be. And so much is talked about in this country. We talk a lot about, we really honor the women, and as they should be honored, right? But hopefully today we'll talk a little bit more about the value of having a father in the home, or not even if he's not in the home, a father in a child's life.
That's real. And I really appreciate you taking the time to really honor your daughter's mother as well, because, I like to think of myself as an outstanding father, but, that base was secured with the power of their moms in their life. Like you, my oldest he's not quite 27, he's 24. But, every time I get a chance, I want to just show a little honor to his mom, because together we were amazing parents. Whatever we weren't able to do as a couple, we were able to much greater and exceed expectations as parents. We raised a good young man who has a good heart on his shoulders, a good head on his shoulders. Just graduated college. He's paving his way. and doing the best he can, and didn't make a lot of the mistakes that we made, right? And didn't walk a lot of the path as well, right? So no apologies for that. I'm really thankful that we were able to do that. And I think the other thing you pointed out is we was just guessing and figuring it out, man. We weren't babies having babies, but we were pretty young. And to a lot of what um, I went through with my oldest, I learned better when I started having children again.
Yeah.
And so, he'll tell me often, Dad, you got soft in your old age. And I'm like, I think you just wanted to kind of see them go through some of the trials you went through, but that's not how this works. That's not how this works at all.
Yeah.
So,
I realized that even with my two youngest, man, that I'm a different parent, even in a short time span from my 3-year-old to my 1-year-old. I'm a different parent to both of them. So, and rightfully so, I'm a different parent to all three of them. And the experience that they get is based off of my experience that I have as a parent.
okay. So it's interesting you say that. I tell my kids all the time, you guys have 3 different fathers. The first time I said that, they just kind of looked at me like, what are you trying to say? It's like, you guys have 3 different fathers, just like I have 3 different sons. And, I look at you guys differently, and what you guys need from me taps into 3 different areas of my ability, my personality, my grit, and everything else, and that was one of the biggest lessons I learned, if I'm going to be honest, that I figured I did a good job with the first one. We'll just duplicate that again with the next 2. And I learned real quick that, there's different people. You don't get to do it like that. So, all right. So Caleb, we can talk all day long. You know that we've been doing this for a while now. This is episode 11, believe it or not. But as I mentioned, we have some special guests. And so our first one just joined us. So I want to go ahead and bring in a good friend of mine. His name is Garrett. Garrett, can you hear me?
I can. Hello. Hey, David.
Welcome
Caleb.
to the Brothers from the 818.
Pleasure to be here. Honored.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Are you familiar with the 818 at all? You know where that area code is?
It's an area code. No, just kidding. I've been out there. I had an uncle that lived out there for a while. And so, yeah, familiar with the area.
Okay. Good. Good. Well, Garrett, the floor is yours. Why don't you just tell us a little bit about yourself?
All right. First of all, again, thanks for having me on. This is a definite pleasure and an honor. When I spoke with you, David, about coming on, I was like, this is cool. This would be my first podcast to be on. So it's great.
All
right. So me in a nutshell, right? Garrett Kerr, I'm in education. David and I happen to know each other from work. And I am married. I've been married for 17, almost 18 years. I got 3 boys ranging from 14, 12, and 2. Yes, 2. He'll be 3 in like 2 weeks. So he can't grow up fast enough, but that's a big gap. Been in education for like 20 years, and just love being a dad, love being a husband, and just trying to live my life.
Hey, Caleb, I knew he'd fit in. So go ahead and tell him the age ranges of your children, man.
Yeah, I was smirking when he shared. Garrett, I have a 27-year-old, I have a 3-year-old, and a 1-year-old, and so yeah.
No. Oh.
Yeah. Well, welcome to the prolonged fatherhood.
Yeah. It's crazy for sure. I love it though.
Yeah, lots of fun.
All right, so Garrett, the floor is yours. Do you have a special Father's Day message for anyone?
Just all the dads out there. Fatherhood is one of the most challenging things I've ever done in my life, and but I would not give it up because it's the most rewarding thing that I've ever done in my life. I love my boys, and I've come to love other young men too because of who they are and what they want to do, and their belief that they can grow and change into better men. It's really hard to, without getting too emotional about it all, right? Like I just love being a dad, and I want other men to know that it's okay to be a father. It's okay to be vulnerable and love your children, and let other people see you love your children too, because that's what this world needs right now. They need to see people loving each other and caring about each other, especially if they see you taking care of your family. They'll respect you and they'll appreciate you and what you do, and know that you're going to in turn respect them and love them too.
Those are strong words, man. Definitely appreciate that. I've often said, of all the jobs I've ever had, of all of the activities I've ever participated in, my absolute favorite in the world is being a dad. I can't think of anything else I would rather do. You know, they say if you love what you do, it's never work. Well, I work hard every day, and I do love what I do. But being a father, being a parent, you know, is work. But being a father is work, because it's a recommitment every day, and it is work. You just got to put it in. So I appreciate you saying that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Hey, Garrett, sure. I have a question.
Yep.
You know, we all learn on the fly. You know, there's plenty of books out there on parenthood and childhood development. How did you, like, what shaped the father that you are today?
I think we learn most from mistakes, right? I haven't learned a lot from my own mistakes. Unfortunately, and I hate to say it in this negative tone or way, but I looked at my own father's mistakes, and I saw what I didn't want to do and didn't want to become. Yeah. That's not to say that we don't genetically and inherently become that way a little bit, right? Yeah. Just quickly, like, my parents divorced when I was 7. You know, that's not totally unique, right? That happens to 50% of people in this world nowadays. But like I said, when I saw that happen, and I immediately told myself, that's not what I want to do. That's not how I want to live my life. That's not how I want my kids to see me. You know, and I went through quite a rocky period with my dad, of me having a relationship, not having a relationship. You know, as a teenager, who really wants their parents in their lives anyway? You know, but that even created more distance between me and my dad. And it wasn't until my early 20s that I really started to have a relationship with him. And
yeah, that's,
you know, unfortunately,
go ahead, I'm sorry.
Yeah, unfortunately, he left when he was just shy of 65, and that I only had about 5 years that I really started to develop a relationship with him. And to this day, you know, there's not much that I wouldn't give to have more time. But seeing that and knowing that, hey, time is precious. Don't make mistakes if you can avoid them, but you learn from them for sure, and then, you know, grow from them. And then again, that time is so precious. So make the most of it when you have it.
Yeah. Hey, thank you for sharing that. You know, I love the evolution that I see in the men around me, you know, and I think it's very honorable how you described, you know, your role and how what shaped the man that you are today. I had a very similar experience, and so thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, my pleasure.
So Garrett, how will you be celebrating Father's Day this year?
Well, I just went to the store, picked up my meal, roast, carrots, potatoes, the good stuff. And lately in quarantine, me and my boys, we like to make cakes. So whether it's like a 3-layer round or just a long sheet cake or whatever it is, but we try like spice cake, marble cake, you know, just chocolate fudge, whatever. So we're going to get together. We'll do that tomorrow. The boys and I'll do that. But, you know, tomorrow's Sunday. I observe the Sabbath. We'll have church service here in our home. And I was just talking to my wife about, like, hey, how do we want to do this tomorrow? And she's like, well, on Mother's Day, you guys talked about me. And so tomorrow we'll talk about you. I'm like, that sounds great. I don't have to do anything. Perfect. Sit and enjoy and bask in the spirit, right? So tomorrow's going to be good. Celebrate with family, relax, and eat well.
That's what's up. Yeah, I plan on doing a lot of eating well myself. My oldest is home, and he said just before we got started tonight, he says, so how do you plan on enjoying your Father's Day. I was like, well, after one of you cooks me breakfast, I'm sure I'm going to be on the grill for a large part of the day so that we could all have dinner together. He's like, yeah, that's the way I want to spend your Father's Day too. So, the ultimate joy is spending it with my children, man. That's what it's for. So
Definitely.
yeah.
Well, Garrett, man, I'm glad that you were able to come on and join the brothers from the 818. Your story is hopefully someone listening in will be able to be shaped by your experience. I know that there's a lot of men that I talk to daily in my job, and a lot of fathers are just trying to figure it out. I had a father tell me last week that I learned to be a father in a parenting program that was designed for men, and he credited the men that was around him. And I feel like we need to continue to model that excellence so that other people, or the people that are looking on, could be witness.
Yeah, I agreed. Like as you started talking, I thought, I've shared some of the struggles that I've seen my dad have, and that's not to say that I haven't had my own struggles, right? I've had struggles in my life, individually, personally, privately, right? And that have affected my ability to be the best parent that I wanted to be. But and then I think about, again, what's at stake, and I go, okay, I need to change. I need to grow up. I need to be less about me, less selfish and more selfless, and think about my boys and what they need, because they're going to be here when I'm gone, right? And if they haven't had somebody to teach them and help them and work with them, I had role models in my life, but there's nothing that compares to a dad. I had men in the church, I had men outside, and people that are helping me in scouts and other organizations that were like, hey, you have potential inside you. You are good. You can, but the love of a father and the guidance of a father is unmatched. And so I just hope to be able to offer that and share that with other men, like you were saying, that hey, we can do this. We can support each other. Whatever struggles you have, whatever they may be, right? We can do this, and we can grow, and we can be better.
Absolutely. Well, hey, man, I can't tell you, you said it was an honor to be on the show. It's an honor to have you on the show, man. I know that we've had some excellent conversations, and just, a lot of the words you used tonight are really going to be a blessing for some of our viewers and listeners. And we just appreciate you, man. So on behalf of the brothers from the 818, happy Father's Day, Garrett.
Happy Father's Day.
I pray that tomorrow is all that you need it to be. And if you're busy from can't see to can't see, I hope you're busy spending it with your boys. And it's a time they'll never forget.
Thank you, David and Caleb. Good to meet you, Caleb here. And David, we'll talk again soon. But you definitely, David, I got to, honestly, you're a role model to me when it comes to fatherhood. The way you talk about your boys, the way you teach them, because I remember the first time they greeted me, they stood up and they shook my hand. And that's just teaching them respect. And I really appreciate what you do and how you father. And Caleb, I'm sure you're the same way, because David doesn't associate with people that don't. So
No, he doesn't.
Thanks, you guys.
I don't.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you.
Absolutely, Garrett. Well, you enjoy your evening, enjoy your Father's Day, man, and we'll touch base real soon.
All right, guys.
Thank you for joining the brothers from the 818.
Pleasure. All right. Good night.
Bye.
Hey, man, that was really cool, man. I'm glad that Garrett was able to come on and join us and share, a little bit about his household and his journey, because it is a journey.
Absolutely, man. I didn't know. I remember he said his father, his parents divorced when he was young. I didn't know if his father was still with us. But I felt it important that we bring in someone, another father, to just start this conversation off tonight, and just bring a different perspective. I like some of the things he said, especially being transparent enough to say, you learn from mistakes, right? And that's the beauty of it. It's like working out, man. You don't build muscle by rubbing it. You build muscle by tearing it, right? And so the mistakes are the tears that you hope to heal stronger.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, man. I'm glad that we took the time to recognize and honor, the fathers out there. It's really important.
Absolutely. So Caleb, I'm glad we started off with our first guest, but I have another guest as well. This one's not a father, she's a mother, and her name is Maritza. Maritza, are you there? Can you hear me?
Yes, I am. Here I am. Thank you for the invite, and I'm looking forward to this conversation, particularly for this special episode on fathers. I think it's a wonderful way to honor them. So thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
Maritza, welcome to the Brothers from the 818. If you wouldn't mind, just tell us a little bit about yourself. You don't have to share anything that you wouldn't share to the store clerk at the grocery store. Just give us a little sample. Okay,
so I am the youngest of 6 children, born and raised in Jersey City, New Jersey, 07302. So yeah, being the youngest of 6, and when I say the youngest, my siblings often joke because they say I am an only child with 5 siblings, because there is a very large gap in our family in terms of my oldest brother just celebrated his 61st birthday, about to be 62 this fall. And then the next youngest after me is 8 years older. And so born and raised in Jersey City, left to school, stayed in New Jersey, but came back to Jersey City and have been teaching in Jersey City since 2000. So a lot of my life has been spent in Jersey City, and now the universe has brought me here to the Bay Area with my husband and 3 children. Currently on a job assignment here in the Bay Area, and so we've been here it'll be 2 years in August. And so yeah, enjoying life and just
all right. Now Caleb, we talk a lot about music here, so I'm gonna need you to I'm not gonna hit you with any music questions, but I'm gonna need you to give me that zip code again. Let me hear it one more time.
07302.
So why was I thinking of the Brat when coming from the 60604 when she said that? So if you got any hip hop in you, Maritza, we might ask you to
right.
give us a few bars, but that might be another episode.
I can try, but I don't know.
You're going to start a trend now. People are going to start sharing their zip codes. We're on the 818. So
exactly. I hope so. Well, I listened to one you guys recorded with a gentleman from, I believe, Newark. Mm-hmm. Not too long ago. It might have been like episode 4 or 5. So I did he just say Newark? Wait a minute. So I figured I would include the zip code just to put us on the map.
Not mad at that. Not mad at that. Just so you know, Caleb, Maritza is an avid follower and listener. She sends many comments my way about our podcast. So thank you for your support.
Thank you.
And it means a lot that we have you here with us today. So let's jump right into it. Do you have a favorite story, a favorite father's story, whether your husband or your dad, or just something that just stands out to you in honor of Father's Day?
Okay, so I will say, I thought of this, and this time of year for me is a very reflective one, as my dad passed away in June of 2010, and so in alignment with Father's Day month, right? And it was very close to Father's Day. It's always a point of reflection for me, and so one that I can think of, and I do think of often, I am not an avid gardener, but I profess to be. And so my dad had a very green thumb. And so I remember one time I was starting like an urban garden back in Jersey City. And we bought all these like beautiful pots, and we were like getting ready to plant them. And of course he was like my guide, right? Because he knew the ins and outs of it. And so I was about 8.5 months pregnant, and my dad and I really never like bickered. We really didn't have too much conflict. I was kind of like we just kind of matched. And so if you ask my siblings, they might have different stories of their dynamic, but my dad and I really just had a beautiful relationship. And so when it came to gardening, he just was like trying to like take over the whole ordeal. And so for like 30 minutes, we bickered about what pot this one flower was going into. And so here I am waddling around the yard, and I remember him in his little like quiet, just trying to will his way. He's like, it belongs in this pot. And I said, no, it's not going in this pot. And I ended up stepping back into one of the tools, and it actually pierced the bottom of my foot. And so imagine being 8.5 months pregnant. Now I'm like bleeding from the bottom of my foot, and his like panic was like, oh my God, you know, when was the last time you had a tetanus shot? He's going in through this like whole story. He's like, I'm going to call your mom because I think she has your immunization records. And here I am, 30 years old, and he's like in a panic mode about the piercing on my foot. Long story short, I didn't need stitches, but I did end up having to go into the hospital because, of course, I did just pierce my foot. And he sat there with me the entire time. Anywhere they brought me, he was like right behind me. And I'm thinking like, why is he so, I mean, but I could just still remember the over protective, like wherever she's going, I'm going, wherever they take her, I'm taking her. Like he wouldn't even let them like wheel me around. He was like wheeling me around. And so I always just think about that story because we laughed that day. He was so apologetic. It was honestly the first time I saw my dad cry, because he was just like so beside himself that in his mind he caused harm. And here I am, 30, was the first time I saw him shed tears over an accident in my backyard that I caused because I was just being stubborn about where the plant was going. But that's one that I remember and think about often.
It's a beautiful story. That's truly. I have some frame of reference with seeing my dad cry later in life. It's like, wow, you have tear ducts? Who knew?
Yeah. It was like, what a vulnerable moment. And he just was so like apologetic and, you know, what can I do to make it right? I mean, my mom had a few words for him because, I mean, how dare he like cause harm? And it was really just my fault being silly. Like, no, I want it in this pot. But to add to that story, the plant actually blooms every year around this time. And so of all the things with our transition to California, not being able to bring that plant with me sticks with me. But every year around June 10th, either a day before or right around Father's Day, it would bloom such beautiful like orange and yellow flowers. And the new homeowners that are in our home back in Jersey still send me a picture to this day. So the lady, the owner there, just sent me a picture a few days ago, just showing me that the plant blooms every year around this time. So, you know, the universe and God, right? The beauty of nature.
So is it blooming in your pot or his pot? Who won the argument?
He won the argument. It's blooming in his pot, but I just always say, like, it's just such a beautiful reminder of that story and you know, just his magic. So
thank you for sharing.
Something that stuck with me in that story is not just the love and the relationship that you have with your father, but you said that you and you guys never really bickered. And so that is amazing for that to be like the story that you go to when you think of your father. That's really beautiful.
Yeah, my siblings say he was a polished dad by the time I came around. They're like, yeah, he already knew the ins and outs. He kind of knew what to really make a big deal about. And even like things like curfew, my sisters talk about, like they weren't allowed to go anywhere unless my older brothers were there. Now the 4 oldest are like a year apart. And so my sisters laugh because they're like, he was just such a different dad. I could get him to come to the mall with me and we'd shop and he'd wait till I tried on 1,000 things, wouldn't complain, different version. So he was already like battle tested by the time I came around.
Lucky you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, your siblings are nice. My oldest son tells my younger ones that dad, you guys made dad soft. So you know, because he battled, I battle tested him or he battle tested me, whatever it is. But you know, by the time the next ones came around, it's like, all right, whatever, just don't burn down my house and we'll be okay.
Right, right. You kind of know what's important and what's not.
Maritza, like you, I am the baby of 10. And so I often hear that same story is that, I got it easy because by the time I was born, everyone else was helping raise the children, and my parents were experienced, and they weren't reacting to the same with the same level of energy that they would have when they were younger parents. And so that's the same thing that I hear. I'm curious. You mentioned your husband. So tomorrow's Father's Day. What's the plan? What plans do you have for Father's Day?
So, our oldest is 10, right? So for 10 years, we've been, honoring him as a dad. And I think I am blessed beyond measure. He is an amazing father every day of the year. He's a wonderful husband. And I think, traditionally since the year before Aiden was born, we acknowledged, obviously, right, where there's a baby on the way, and Aiden was born in September. So that first Father's Day was kind of the first year he was born, but we enjoy barbecuing. So, we'll probably at some point during the day barbecue. Now we have 3 very active boys. So I would say the last 3 to 4 years, we try to, either hit up, we just moved to the Bay Area, which we are appreciating the beautiful weather. But in June in New Jersey, it's usually pretty warm. I don't know if it's beach warm, but we usually try to do something outdoorsy during the day, especially with the boys. Anything from bike rides to now hikes. So the plan is tomorrow we'll probably greet them with a wonderful breakfast, which I'm not even going to lie, that happens quite often on the weekends. And so, but tomorrow I do make it a point for the boys to just use the time during breakfast to really reflect about why dad, is an amazing dad. I really try to instill in them that Father's Day is just, I guess, one day, but really our boys, I make sure that they express their gratitude often, because I know parenting, and especially fathering, is not an easy job. And so, especially with 3 boys, tomorrow we'll spend some time during breakfast, just talking about what makes him awesome. And also just sharing kind of what things we've learned throughout this year. The 2 younger ones are more about, why dad is an awesome dad, because he loves to wrestle and play. But I'm really loving the 10-year-old is kind of growing into a more reflective and is able to kind of think about more than just the things dad gives us, but also the time that dad makes for us, and dad, talks to us, especially him. So I'm really enjoying this transition. So, and then we'll barbecue. Whatever he wants for dinner, we'll make sure that he has it, and then just quality time. So quiet, but making sure to be intentional to acknowledge, his existence in our home and in our family.
I love intentional gratitude. That's I think that and with the plate, since he gets breakfast often, put some a special garnish the plate with something special tomorrow then.
Okay. we try to dress it up, but yeah, I'm thinking we can get a little creative with the garnish.
You didn't realize you're going to be challenged. There was expectations that placed on you for Father's Day. Well, thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing the story about your father and your husband. I love how you view both of those men in such a high esteem. And so it's wonderful hearing a woman speak so highly about the importance of the men in her life. And so thank you for sharing that.
Thank you for allowing me the space to do so. I really appreciate it.
And Maritza, you don't need to hear it from us, but with three boys, that relationship between them and their father, especially as they reflect on the year after year after year of even the moments of the Father's Day message that they give him. The 10-year-old will reflect on, his 9-year-old message. And when he's 18, he'll think back to all the different times and you'll get to see that progression. And as a father, that's perhaps the greatest joy. I remember when my boys would run in circles until they passed out. And Caleb and I got to spend some time together today, and I watched his son just run around in a circle at 1 year old until he couldn't do it anymore. And now, me and my son sit around, and it's like 4 big men in the house with a whole lot of testosterone making a lot of noise. And it's the same effect. It's just older, more reflective, and different, obviously. So we really appreciate you coming on and taking the time to share your message, your Father's Day message. Your husband's named Carlos, is that right?
Carlos, yes. Carlos.
Give him my best. I'm looking forward to our next after class session where maybe he'll join in and we'll go from there. But on behalf of the brothers from the 818, we really appreciate you coming to talk to us. We wish you a very happy Father's Day and the participation that you'll have with it tomorrow. We know that a lot of what's happening is because of the energy and drive and the importance you place on it. And so on behalf of all fathers, we appreciate women like yourselves, moms like yourself, wives like yourself, and from the bottom of our heart, we just say thank you.
Oh, and thank you again for having me. And I can't say enough that this is just a wonderful way to honor, all fathers. We need to do this more. I think that, the impact a father has on the life of a child is immeasurable. And it's just, remarkable to have, you two standing tall, representing fathers. And it's definitely more than just a holiday to be celebrated. So thank you for this opportunity. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. You have a great evening and enjoy your tomorrow, Maritza. Thanks again.
You too, guys. Enjoy.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
So that was really cool. That was
nice.
I love the story that she shared with her father, especially that she said that they didn't bicker. And the other piece with just how she lifted up her husband, that was powerful. That was really powerful. I didn't want to throw the 91331 at her or tell her that my wife was from Jersey as well. But we had a lot of similarities too, because she's the baby of a big bunch, and I'm the baby of a big bunch, and I can relate to some of the differences that she had as living in the same household and a sibling group, because I've been told the same thing. My parents was certainly much different raising me than they were raising them.
Right. Yeah, I think my bunch wasn't as big, but the gap was there. And so I like the way she put it, that she was an only child with siblings.
Yeah.
It's an interesting perspective. So Caleb, our last guest, Maritza, she brought some interesting perspectives. Our first guest was a husband and a father. Our second guest was a mother with children, and how she honors not only her father but her husband as well. And from, what was the zip code? Do you remember?
No, 05763. I don't know.
Something
New Jersey City.
And we seem to. I think we've had more Jersey guests. I think we just know people from the East Coast.
Yeah.
So this one won't be a stranger. Our next guest is another friend of ours. Her name is Carol Pikett. Carol, can you hear me?
Yes.
Carol, welcome to Brothers from the 818. You are on our special Father's Day episode. And thank you so much for taking the time to spend share a little joy with us.
Oh, it's my honor to do so.
Wonderful, wonderful. So Caleb, why don't you kick it off?
Yeah, Carol, just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm from the East Coast, Trenton, New Jersey.
Mm.
I've been out here since 1986. I'm sorry. And now, this is basically my home. My husband's job moved us out here. We transferred on his job. And I just began to start learning what California was about, because I really didn't like California. I never cared for the West Coast. But now that I've been here for 33 years, I think I care for the West Coast. Both my parents are now gone, so I don't have my father. I don't have my mother, but my siblings are on the East Coast, except one sister who's in Seattle. So I'm the middle child. So I have 2 older sisters and 2 younger brothers. So I'm the middle child. I'm a teacher. I've been married to my husband going on 35 years, and I have a son and a daughter. My son is 40 and my daughter's 33.
Your son is 40?
Yeah, my son is 40.
Man, you're just making me feel old. I'm like, wow. And I guess that's right. We're about 10 years apart, but man, okay. Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Uh-huh.
So see, Caleb, you got another Trenton, New Jerseyite out here.
Yeah, man. I think that's probably about 4 or 5 people we've had on from Jersey. And it's not intentional, it's not deliberate, but we're happy to have people from the Garden State on the visiting with the brothers from the 818. Every time I go back to Jersey, because my wife is from Jersey,
Okay.
I'm reminded that I don't like the humidity on the East Coast, and I'm sure that hits you like a punch in the face every time you step off the plane and you step down, and the humidity is something that I don't know if I could ever get used to. So here we are, the eve of Father's Day, and as David shared, we appreciate you joining us. Do you have a favorite story, father story, either your father or your husband or something else that you would like to share with us?
I think my favorite father story was when my husband became a father. I think that was probably one of the glorious moments for him, that his first child was a son. And I think it was even a glorious moment for his dad as well as my dad. That was his first grandson, even though my dad had a first grandchild, which was my niece from my oldest sister, who is 52. And then here you come with a grandson. So that just made his day as well as my husband's day. We were young parents at the time, coming out of high school, young parents. And my son was a miracle baby. So I think that was even more of a challenge, because I had him at a month early. I ended up having seizures, had to have an emergency C-section because they were losing both me and my son. And so at the time, my husband now was in college. He was in his final year of college and got an emergency call that I was having a seizure and that his child was getting ready to be born, but he missed the birth of his firstborn child. And so I was kind of worried about that. But the funny component of it all, once he did get to see his firstborn, is that they gave him the wrong child. And I thought that was kind of comical. I said, the baby was heavy, had afro, the whole 9-yard head full of hair. And, I was still in recovery. And I kept saying, that's not your child. And he kept saying, oh, no, here our handsome somebody. I said, no, it's the ugly baby over there, that one right there. And he just got so tickled because he only weighed 4 pounds and 1 ounce. And went down to 312. So like I said, he was a preemie baby, emergency C-section. But the thing is that he was able to see him, got to hold him, but he was just so tiny. And I think that just wooed him some, because he was just so little. He's like, how can such a miracle happen such as this? and so fast and so quick, not knowing that I was going to go into convulsions and have all kind of things going on. But I think that was one of the special moments of his life, as being first time being a dad. It was a boy, and then also both grandfathers, having their first grandson.
Wow.
So yeah.
Thank you for sharing that, and thank you for making us laugh. It's not often that parents would be like, no, that baby has too much weight on him. Our baby is over there in the corner.
No, I'm just looking forward to seeing your son again. So I'm gonna be like, so you was the little ugly baby in the corner, huh?
I don't want to say ugly, Dave. I don't want to say ugly, but
She said ugly.
She said ugly.
He looked like a little turtle lizard. I was like, ooh, and they had his hair sticking on top of his head. I was like, that's the ugly one right there.
Wow. So Carol, that's a great intro. Thank you. We are just a few hours away, not even 3 hours away from Sunday, June 21st, Father's Day. So how do you plan on celebrating Father's Day tomorrow?
Well, I always combine Ernest's Father's Day with his birthday, because his birthday either falls on Father's Day or a couple of days before Father's Day. So I just combine the two with family and friends. I invite family and friends over, and we just have a good time. We sit around. Like, Ernest likes a lot of backyard. Ernest is a barbecue man. And so he likes to barbecue, be on his grill, watch his games, have good, clean talk, and just be transparent with those that come around that he enjoys and that they enjoy him. And so we consider everybody that comes around most of the time that he talks to family. We're very transparent people. We're very down to earth. We're real. We love fellowshipping with people, but most of all, we love sharing our heart and what we're about. We're not phony. We're real. If we like you, we like you. If we don't, we don't. And David knows that for a fact. So I'll tell you in a minute, I don't like to get out my house, get stepping. Because Ernest is the friendly one. I'm not so much the friendly one. I'm like, nope.
I love how she was driving her point home by slapping that desk. I love it.
Yeah. We're going to keep this clean because it's a Father's Day episode, but I could tell you some stories when Carol scared me. It's like, woo. I don't scare easy, but I've learned some respect from Miss Carol over and over again. So no, and I will say, I love the word you use, transparency, and the people that you guys choose to spend time with are like family. Your house has always been a home for many. And in ministry, we always talk about, we are supposed to be lighthouses to guide the weary through the rocks of the shore. And your home has always been that lighthouse, as far as I remember. And we've been around each other for over 20 years now, Carol. So, I think back to the Motel 6 slogan, come on by, we'll leave a light on for you.
Yeah.
That's the Pickett household, I think when I came out the hospital with babies, they were in the waiting room. I didn't even invite them. I didn't even call them and say, hey, I think they just woke up with the spirit and said, hey, somebody's having a baby. Let's just go to the hospital and see. Oh, it's Dave. Okay, cool. So good family. So yeah, I think that's a wonderful way to celebrate Father's Day. Any surprises for him? You can tell us because he won't see this until after the surprise happens.
No, I don't think it's any surprises. I just think that, when you desire certain things that, you make it happen. And Ernest is about making things happen, and that person is going to be able to enjoy it. Last time I did surprise him, people that he didn't think were coming. We had a big old bash. Matter of fact, David, you were there. People he didn't know were coming, came. So it's a little bit smaller this year, but because of the COVID. But again, I say, our house is still a home. Our house is still open. We cover our house with the blood of Jesus, and you're welcome to come anytime. Our house is spacious enough where you can sit 6 feet apart, or if you want to sit close. But I feel that if I'm covered by the blood and I trust God for the healing power that he has given me over my own body, as well as to pray for somebody else, come on by, because we're going to die from something.
And it ain't going to be today, right?
That's it. So you must come on by, have some good food, and just enjoy. And I think that's the thing. I think the livelihood of it is that people are able to get together, because I think the killing component of it is that they can't see each other. They can't touch. They can't talk. They can't walk with one another. But when you say, you know what, come on over anyhow, regardless of what the governor is saying, come on over anyhow. And that's the way I feel about it. No restrictions over here.
Like I said, I got many stories I could share. Many stories I could share. You want to get that last one, Caleb?
Yeah. It sounds like there's some of the things that you guys normally do is you shared it. You kind of group birthdays and Father's Day together, and spend a lot of time with friends and family. In the backyard while Ernest is barbecuing. And so any other traditions, any other things that really stands out that to recognize the father that Ernest has become over the 40 years.
Well, I think the thing that stands out for me is that he shares himself with everybody. You know, even though he knows that he has a family of his own, he expresses himself thin, but yet that's the type of person that he is. His father was the same way, just caring, sharing, and our family tradition is to, you know, open our home and to share ourselves with many, not just our family. We do have those family nights, we do have those family times, but the traditional thing is basically spending it with family and friends. You know, I have not seen a Father's Day that we've had thus far where it was just us. We have either had one person or two person. We've always had somebody along sharing it with us, even someone who don't have a father. You know, we said, come on over. Matter of fact, Brandon. We've had Brandon over, and then we had another Brandon just recently in the past 5 or 6 years also over, that my son was like a father like one to him. And so we're like that for the young people, for the youth, you know, those that don't have a father. Ernest has become a father like one. He's become a mentor. But he, you know, again, just being as transparent and loving as he is, that's the tradition that we have, is that we share whatever we have with whoever we can. And it's always been like that.
That's wonderful. We need more. You know, I have so much respect for Ernest. Caleb and I both do, honestly. But we need more men like that who are selfless and recognize they have their own families, but they're willing to be stretched thin because they realize the power of a father or father-like one and of a young man. So, so on behalf of the brothers from the 818, please, as part of whatever celebration you do tomorrow, let them know you were on the podcast. Send them some love from both of us. And we don't want to take any time away, but if you get a chance to check it out tomorrow, it will be there. And I'm sure he would love to hear the wonderful words that you shared about him.
All right. Absolutely. Thank you. It was an honor to share my husband at a time like this. I mean, many people don't have good words to say about their husband, their man, you know. And I think it goes back to relationship. You know, a lot of people don't know how to fellowship as well as have a relationship with that individual, share their differences. Going back to that same word, being transparent, being real. I mean, you're going to have your ups and downs, your do's and don'ts, but make it plain, make it real, and just learn to communicate and get along, and everything will be all right. It'll work itself out. As long as you got a plan, he's the man.
Love that. Love that. All right, Carol. Well, on behalf of the brothers. Oh, go ahead, Caleb.
No, I was going to just say thank you, Carol. Happy Father's Day enjoy your Father's Day, and happy Father's Day to Ernest and everyone that's going to be celebrating with you.
Thank you so much, Caleb, and happy Father's Day to you as well as to David.
Thank you.
All right. You have a great evening, Carol. Thanks again for joining the brothers from the 818.
All right. Take care.
Bye now.
Bye-bye.
Hey, I thought she was going to, I thought Carol was going to say something like, she visited you at the hospital, and she pointed out your ugly boys when she showed up. No, seriously, I think that, I think, we were talking about her husband, and I also see him as a fatherly energy, right? And he's a mentor, and he's a man of faith. And I met him at the men's group, right? And I just think that he provides such a safe space for real talk. And as Carol kind of let in, we keep it real, and we are down to earth, and we kind of just straightforward, and that's who we are. And I love that whenever I'm around Ernest, I feel like I could tell him anything. I could tell him some of my deepest, darkest secrets, and I think that he would receive it and say, well, let's pray. I think let's pray for what you did, and let's pray for the future. And so I love Ernest, and I didn't realize that his birthday was so always so close to Father's Day. But what a wonderful way to celebrate your birthday as a father.
Yeah, that you hit Ernest on a nutshell. Ernest is the one who taught me that, when someone asks for prayer, stop what you're doing and pray, right? It's not something you say, okay, when I pray tonight, I'm going to get to that. Be like, okay, so I can't tell you the number of conversations Ernest and I have, on a weekly basis, where at the end of it, it ends with, let's pray. And it's not because it's necessarily problematic or whatever it is, or we're lifting someone up or whatever the scenario may be, but it's good. And I've said this about you and him in my life. I'm blessed that the two people I'm closest to are people who on my best day will celebrate with me in a way that's positive. And on my worst day, they will not push me down into my hole and try to keep me there, but they will find positivity to bring me out. Right. And so knowing that you have men like that in your life is a positive experience, especially as a father, because it gives you the coding you need so that when your children are having bad days, you have the tools and you're properly equipped to bring them up. All right.
Exactly.
So in the mortal words of Digital Underground, you know how we do, we've reached the end of this or the fade out portion of this podcast. But I wanted to share just one quick thing and as a closing, and then maybe you can close us out. It's been the central theme. I think Garrett mentioned it. It's just kind of a shout out of love to fathers everywhere and the importance of a father. It's not just amongst men. It's not just amongst Black men. It's not just amongst people. I read a story about elephants in South Africa, and they were populating a new wild animal park. And wild animal parks in South Africa aren't like San Diego. It's different, right? You're actually they put a road through the jungle, and that's where the animals are, and that's where you are too. Anyway, they populated with elephants. And they were adolescent elephants, age 12 to about 20 or so. And the elephants were tearing stuff up. Tearing down trees and villages and stores, killing rhinos and other animals, just going buck wild. And what they discovered is that the elephants were in a period called Musht, right? M-U-S-H-T. And it's kind of like being in heat, right? Where they're just filled with testosterone, and they have a smell, and they have a look, and they have a bravado and a swagger about them. And they were just tearing stuff up. And they had two choices. We can castrate them, right? Which will instantly calm them down. Or one of the researchers had another idea. He says, let's bring in some fathers. Right. And so they went down to deeper in South Africa at Kruger National Park and picked up some bull elephants. We're talking 40, 50-year-old elephants, males, and, brought them in and dropped them off in the park, and within hours, all the havoc stopped.
Wow.
Right now, I wasn't there, right, but I'm sure they didn't pull them all in a room and the elephants looked around. All right, look here, they can't hear us. Y'all gonna need to start acting right, right? There was no audible communication of a father disciplining the child, but it was the presence of the father figure that the young elephants recognized, and it calmed them right down. And so my message to all of you fathers out there that are being fathers to your children and sons and daughters, and just being, who it is, whether you're in the house or not, bravo, one. Two, keep up that work, because it's more necessary than you'll ever realize. And one of the things that we often say on the show is that this land, this world we're in, needs healing. And part of that healing comes from the presence of a father. And then the second piece is, as Carol pointed out about her husband, it's not just yours. Sometimes you have to be a father like one to somebody who doesn't have that influence around you. So don't be afraid to share the wisdom that has been imparted in you as you've grown as a man and with your own children or what have you, to someone who may need that type of an influence in their life as well.
Wow, brother. Thank you for sharing that, man. I picked up a lot of things in that elephant story that just resonated with me. Like you said, bull out of elephants, the more elder elephants, they provide a structure and discipline, and it doesn't. So often the value of a father or a male figure in a child's life is not recognized in this country. I've done a lot of trainings and around fatherhood, and I was in a training recently, and one of the instructors was saying that fathers are the value of fathers have become like second nature. Back in the day, mothers would gain what is it called, WIC checks and Social Security when the father was not in the house. So there was no value in having the father in the house after the children were born, because they could gain that additional income from being on Social Security. Mm-hmm. But what we've learned over the years is that the value of a man in a child's life is so much greater than just being a provider. A father provides that structure and discipline. A father provides, teaches love in a way that a mother doesn't, and plays rougher, right, with the children. And so some parents might cringe at that, but it tests the boundaries of like of safety and security and risk taking. And so we know those things. And I just think that as I reflect on my father, there was a lot of things from my father that I said I would never do, and then here I am, almost 50 years old, and when I look in the mirror, I look just like my father, and not just in appearance, but I'm not just in appearance, but in the way that I look at family and that responsibility, right? And my father raised 8 boys, right? And if you're going to raise 1 boy, 3 boys like yourself, or 8 boys like my father, there's going to be a need for some structure and some discipline. And as a young adult, I didn't have a appreciation for the weight that was on my father's shoulder until today. I'm recognizing it now. Because I now have 3 children and that I am still parenting, and it's just different. And I just want to recognize my father, right? I want to recognize all the men that have modeled good parenting and fatherhood to me, including you, sir. Thank you for teaching me and coaching me and modeling for me as much as I try to do the same for you. I am forever grateful for that. I'm forever grateful for all the fathers that are out there that's still trying to have a place in their children's life. If things aren't quite right, they're still trying to make efforts to improve those relationships. And I'm just hopeful and praying that as a community, we can support each other and strengthen each other, just like we did in those men groups in Whittier.
Amen. I'm going to receive all that. Like you, I want to send a special shout out for Job Smith. That man is 87 years old and still doing his thing. My father I didn't meet him until I was 17, so I didn't grow up with him. But our relationship since then, he's been the key to unlock many doors that I didn't know I needed opening. Right. And the older I get and the deeper our relationship gets, I still find myself learning from that man. And like one of our guests said before, it wasn't until last year or 2 years ago, I introduced him to his grandchildren, took them to Chicago to visit him, and I saw him cry. It's never happened before. I didn't know the man owned tear ducts. I figured he had them surgically removed to make him hard or something.
Yeah.
But it even brings me a greater joy knowing that I get to see my father be a grandfather to my children and just continuing that legacy. And so like you, I want to really send some special love to my dad. Thank you for your words, brother. I always appreciate that. And all fathers out there, it's not easy. It's worth it. Anytime I can have to share with my sons as a group, or the stolen moments I find when I get one to myself for a moment and just get to share that time with them is invaluable. And for all of you fathers out there, for the brothers from the 818, we pray that your day tomorrow is magical, that it's restful, that it's all that it just gives you that joy inside that only comes from being a father. So that's my final word.
Thank you for joining the brothers from the 818. Dave, where can they find us?
Man, we're on YouTube visually. We're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and a number of other, did I say Spotify? A number of other streaming outlets. You can follow us on Instagram at Brothers from the 818, Twitter at 818 Brothers. We're out there, man. We're getting a slowly growing but steady following. And as this is my first real venture into the joys of social media, I'm glad we get to do it like this. And even more importantly, I'm glad we get to do it together, man.
Yes,
I couldn't imagine sharing this journey with anyone else, and I don't think it would be as effective if it wasn't with you.
Well, let me say this. Happy Father's Day to you, brother.
Happy Father's Day to you. You be blessed. Y'all out there be blessed too. And we'll see you next time on the Brothers from the 818. Peace out.